What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing you a bacon NFL DFS video where you're breaking down Thursday Night Football. We've got the Washington Commanders headed to Philly to face the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Now, a little bit of weather concern. I get that, but we are going to push past that, and we are going to hopefully help you become better DFS players by kind of digging in a little bit, giving you the statistics early. So there are chapters, so if you want to skip ahead, you can. It would be awesome if you didn't skip ahead, but I understand. We're going to break down the statistics between last year and the first 10 weeks of this season, the statistics for captain spot or MVP spot on DraftKings and FanDuel. After that, we are going to look at the DraftKings lineups, and we're going to build a couple of DraftKings lineups and a couple of FanDuel lineups as well. So before we get started, as always, Outlier.bet are our sponsor for these videos. Make sure you check them out. A ton of great information there. If you use the link in the description of this video, you're going to get 7-day free trial for the first time. After that 7 days, if you decide to go with their normal package, using our link, we are going to give you a free month of FTA+. That's a $30 value. If you go through the 7 days and then do their premium package, we're going to give you 3 months free of FTA+, which is a $90 value. And on top of that, FTA+ for 1 year is normally $199. If you use the promo code NBA is back, all one word, all capital letters, NBA is back. Instead of $199, you're going to get it for $74.99. So make sure you check them out if you've been interested in anything that we have. So we have 2 coupon codes left. It's first come, first serve. So make sure you check that out. Now, what I love about Outlier is I go into the games. I'm going to go into this game for NFL, and then I go into match details. So then you can look. The current line, Philly, money line favorite, 185 is what you can find over on BetMGM. They've covered the money line the last 5 straight games. The spread is currently Philly 3.5, which, again, they've covered that 3 straight games. And then the over-under is 48.5. Now, I don't think it's going to be as big a game as we saw last Thursday, but I really like this game. There's some great options in here, and we are going to build off of those. So using that, you can go into player props, you can go to team props, game props. If you want to go touchdown scores, you could do all of that building there. You could look at your injuries, your insights. So make sure you check them out. The link is down below. Also, we have a link to our Discord, a completely free Discord. You can check that down below as well. So our matchup tool. So this is a completely free tool under the NFL tab. It's the first tab, NFL matchup tool. And you can see how the teams do against each. So these are the defenses. These are all the statistics they've given up for each position. So in quarterback ranking, the Commanders rank 21st. They give up 17.5, where the Eagles rank 4th, giving up 13.9 fantasy points on DraftKings. So in this instance, on paper, it would look like Jalen Hurts, who has been absolutely on fire since the bye, would be the better starter here. Running backs. You've got Commanders ranked 13th, giving up 22.4 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs, so Saquon Barkley makes a lot of sense. Then the Eagles defense, they rank 2nd. They're very good against the run. Now, Robinson might be out again. Then it's Eckler. Eckler is a running back, but he also takes a ton of passes as well. And you can see they've given up only 226 yards through the air to opposing running backs. Wide receivers. Washington, they rank 19th, giving up an average of 34 fantasy points per game. So Philly wide receivers look great. Philly defense, they've given up 28.9, which ranks 8th. So they're 8th best team out of 32 against the opposing wide receivers. And then tight ends, you can see, again, the Commanders rank 14th, giving up 10.7. You've got Philly ranked 4th, giving up 8.2. So that being said, it would appear on paper Philadelphia as a stack might be the way to go, but we're still going to build you guys some lineups here. So before we dig in and build the lineups, we're looking at data from last year till the first 10 weeks of this year. 84% of the winning lineups on DraftKings have had at least one quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts has to be in your lineup, almost every single lineup here. Only 6% of those lineups on DraftKings, the winning lineups, used all $50,000 salary. 16% of the winning lineups had a $200 or less player. Again, looking over these, none really jump out to me at the moment. They might if someone gets elevated, like a Paris Campbell, if he gets elevated for any reason. He played in Week 7 last, didn't do anything. In Week 4, he had a touchdown. So if he is elevated, Paris Campbell makes a ton of sense at $200. Still got to wait for some of that news to hear. 80% of the winning lineups had a $4,000 player or less. So we're looking at basically the Commanders defense, which I would not be using unless you build multiple lineups and you use them as a jumping off point. Say maybe Jalen Hurts gets hurt or he has a terrible game where like Jared Goff had 5 interceptions. Something like some weird game like that. But if you're only building like 1 or 2 lineups, I'm probably not using the Commanders defense. And then Zacchaeus is here you could use, and there's some a little bit down further. And then the average salary that has been used in the winning lineups on DraftKings has been $47,500. And then stack percentages. These are where it's huge. So we're looking at stacks. The number one type of stack that has taken it down 44% of the time has been a 4-2 stack. So in this instance, my mind, I am building a 4-2 stack the majority of the time with Philly in mind here against this defense for Washington. 36% of the time it's been a 3-3 stack, and only 21% of the time it's been a 5-1 stack. And then captain percentages. These are huge. Now, you can always have a game that has a kicker, like we saw with the Rams the other day or the Dolphins a couple of games ago. But 39% of the time, a wide receiver has been in that winning captain spot. 28% of the time, it's been a running back. 17% a quarterback. 7% of the time, a tight end. 7% of the time, a defense. And only 2% of the time, it has been a kicker. Now, there have been kicker games. The weather being a concern, the game, the defense, I'm really liking. Maybe put a kicker in there, but I don't think a kicker is going to win you that captain or MVP spot. But that being said, let's build a couple of lineups that we can look at, that we feel comfortable with, and we can go from there. So I think at the top of my first one, if he's healthy, he's getting the targets. A.J. Brown, 7.4659. He obviously left hurt week 9 after 4 targets. Had 109 yards against Dallas, 18.9. He is going to be my captain spot. So I've got A.J. Brown as my captain spot. You obviously have to have Hurts throwing to him. And I think Barkley as well, because they've all got great matchups. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I think this probably rounds out to be like a 3-3 stack. But with Robinson being questionable, don't know if he's going to be in yet, we could definitely take a look at Jeremy McNichols here. So we look at McNichols. Game log-wise, he hasn't done a ton. 7 yards last week, but had a touchdown against Pittsburgh. A touchdown would be pretty big here. Obviously, I don't think, and this will all be contingent on whether or not Robinson is actually cleared to play, because it obviously makes sense to have more so Eckler here. But again, McNichols at 2,800 is a kind of a spot that we like. Jaden McDaniels, who he did not have a very good week last week, that is well documented against Pittsburgh, it still allows us different directions. Now, if we were to take a $200 player that makes any bit of sense here, it could be Stinnett. He was not targeted last week against Pittsburgh. He had 1 target in week 9. He's been on the team. He has been there. He just he has 1 touchdown for the year. Now, this is one of those where I'm building multiple different lineups. This is one of those instances where we could find a $200 player and go from there. So this is one lineup you could look at. It is very contingent on if Robinson is in, then this lineup has to be blown up because it's contingent on McNichols being in there for a very cheap option, because combined they're $3,000 together. So this is just a GPP lineup, an out-of-the-box type lineup to build for you guys. If you want to see the cheat sheet with all of the plays that we like at captain and then flex for both FanDuel and DraftKings, we've got that on the cheat sheet. If you go to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, go to the NFL tab, go down to the NFL DFS cheat sheet. It is all there, along with optimal lineups to use as starting off points for the main slate and afternoon slates on both FanDuel and DraftKings. So here's another one. Now let's build one where it is a 4-2 stack, because let's say I think that Eagles are going to be up big, and then Jaden Daniels is going to have to chip away. So I'm looking at Barkley as my top spot. Jaden Daniels is there. I'm putting Eckler in there. This is an instance I'm thinking Robinson might be there. Let's put him in there as well. Now, this is where it gets crazy, because everyone's going to be on McLaren. So last week, McLaren, 113 yards. Of course he did, because the one time I needed him to get 50 yards for an $87 free play parlay, he got 19 yards. 19 yards and 2 touchdowns as a wide receiver. 2 receptions, 19 yards, 2 touchdowns. Unbelievable. Anyway, down week, of course, the week I take him. But everyone's going to be on him. But you know who they might not be on a ton? Noah Brown. Game log wise, 33 yards, 60. He's been targeted right here, as you can see, 19 times in the last 3 games. While Philly are really good against the wide receiver, I think they're going to be all over Terry McLaurin. Noah Brown could sneak in there. Now for our flex spot, we have 2,700 to work with. Where do we want to go? Washington against the tight end? Yeah, Dallas Goedert's back, but you know who's also here? Calcaterra. You got Grant Calcaterra, only 1 target last week against Dallas, 5 the week before that with 30 yards. Cincy, 3 for 3 for 58 yards as well. Doesn't have a touchdown this year, but has 216 yards on 17 receptions. He's had some good games here, 50-plus yards in some of them, and I think I want to take that. We've left 1,700 on the table. So in this instance, if you go ahead and you want to change something about this, I could see that. You could change up, maybe Brian Robinson's going to be out. Maybe he's out. Maybe we take Brian Robinson out. We look at this. We obviously got, I didn't mean Goddard. I meant Eckler. I typed the wrong one. Eckler, that's 8,500 for a flex. We're now at Robinson. You can take him out. You could put Goddard in there, but if he is questionable, if he is out, then yeah, Calcaterra is an amazing pick there. We could go down to a kicker. If you think Jake Elliott's going to have a good game, if you think kicking is going to happen, you can see it. When they put up a ton of points, got extra hits, got extra points, and field goals made. So Jake Elliott makes sense. 3,300 we've left on the table. So we obviously went past that 47.5, but I am okay with that. Or you could take Calcaterra out. You have 4,300 to work with. You then have a Jahan Dotson. Hasn't really done much. You can see 1 target the past 2 games each. You've got Johnny Wilson's there. You got Diami Brown is there. Really hasn't done much. So there's a lot of different ways you go. Like Kenneth Gainwell, if they're up big, he could get receptions there as well, even with Barkley as your captain spot. Zacchaeus is more of on special teams for the most part. So you don't really get points there. You get it for defense or special teams. I don't trust Commanders' defense as much. You got Luke McCaffrey, but, 3 targets last week, 23 yards. Really haven't done a ton with him. That's the only problem. So it depends on how much you want to spend or keep on there. You got John Bates, hasn't done anything either. Like, it could get ugly in this game. So my instance, we could look at this, and if let's take Jake Elliott out. Seibert, is he going to be in? Okay, so Seibert's probably out. Zane Gonzalez is probably in, who had a good game there against Pittsburgh in that loss. You put him in there, we're at 4,700 still. Eagles defense, I am okay with the Eagles defense. But since this is more of a Washington stack, you don't want to do an Eagles defense. So yeah, then it just depends on where you want to go here. It really depends if we want to take out Jaden Daniels and you want to put in Jalen Hurts. You could go different directions there. Jalen Hurts now we're at 4,100. Or Jahan Dotson is what you could go with, who hasn't done anything. And yeah, Calcaterra, and then you leave that on the table. I'm okay with that as well. So there are just so many different ways to go about this that it could get interesting, especially if, in fact, Robinson Jr. is in. This is all contingent whether or not he's probably going to be a game time decision as well. But let's now do one more as a Philly stack with I want Barkley there. I want Hurts throwing to him. I want A.J. Brown as well. So there's a lot to go here. I want Gainwell because let's say they have a good game, or Barkley takes him 99 yards down the field, and then Gainwell snatches 2 from him. We'll put in Brown because, again, you got to get creative with this. Now we're at 3,700 for a spot here. Commanders defense, no, because it's a Philly stack. Zacchaeus, probably not. Depending on where you want to go, we could... depends, I guess. We're at 3,700. We've got Barkley here. We got Hurts. We got Brown. Gainwell. Other Brown. And now we're at 2,100 that we've left on the table. So it really just depends on leaving 2,100 on the table, or if we take this off, probably going to go leave 2,100 on the table there. So there you go. That is DraftKings. Let's check out what FanDuel has. Now, if you've not played on FanDuel before, or at least in a showdown, it's got one less lineup spot. There's only 5 instead of 6. The MVP spot's still 1.5, so it's the same thing. There's no difference in the captain or MVP spot. Let's try to build kind of an off-the-wall type one. I still think Barkley's got to be in there for your MVP spot. I think Jaden Daniels, if he's playing from behind, he's going to have to throw the ball up a ton. I think regardless if he's in, if Robinson is in, Austin Eckler still gets in there. Because if you look what he does, he runs the ball, but he also catches as well. Only had 1 reception last week for 7 receiving yards, but had 2 rushing touchdowns. Again, Robinson was out, but that's a very hard matchup for him because Pittsburgh's defense is very good as well. He was still able to navigate that. So we're still at 10,000 for 2 more, which allows you different directions. But if we're looking at this, we could possibly look at Jake Elliott. I think kicking could be in store here. Now, do we want to go Robinson? Do we want to go Dallas Goedert? Now, is Dallas Goedert any updated? Yeah, so no update yet through Wednesday, so we're waiting on that. But there are different directions to go with here, depending on where we're at. 10,000, technically we have 11,000. If Robinson is in, this is my problem. If Robinson is even in, he might not be 100%, so it's still Eckler's game. So that's what scares me. So I think I'd go Noah Brown there. So you've got Jaden Daniels throwing it to Austin Eckler, Noah Brown, and then we've got Saquon Barkley and a kicker there in Jake Elliott for Philly. So that's one lineup. A different lineup we could look to build would be putting Jalen Hurts at the top in your MVP spot. So Jalen Hurts with Barkley and throwing it to A.J. Brown. That leaves us 2 spots available, 8,200 the rest of the way. I think we could get away with it. Going Eckler at 10, and now we're at 6,500. Kenneth Gainwell, Chris Rodriguez really hasn't done much, even being the backup there. Calcaterra will be very dependent on Goddard if he's in or out. So I think we go Kenneth Gainwell as well. Left none on the table. Hurts as our MVP, Barkley, Brown, Eckler, and Gainwell to do our second lineup. And then kind of looking at a third lineup, let's take a gander at this and see what we're able to do building out. I'm just going to build it in my mind that Robinson is either out or very limited. Even if he plays, I don't trust it enough. Now, I could be wrong. This is me I could be completely wrong. I'm scared to use him. I'll let you know right now. I got a soft side. I'm scared, guys. So Jalen Hurts is my MVP. I think Barkley goes in there as well. I think Brown goes in there as well. Eckler yet again. Or no. Let's not do Hurts here. Let's do Barkley as your MVP. Because I don't want to do the exact same lineup or close to it. So Hurts is there. Brown is there. I think the other Brown is there in Noah. And then we're at 7,000. So whether or not we go Paris Campbell, again, though, if he gets the call, if Paris Campbell is in there, I don't mind him as a cheap option. Still waiting on that, though. Diami Brown is there. Do we want 3 Browns in this lineup? Game log-wise, and minus 0.3 last week. Kenneth Gainwell, Calcaterra, again, that's if Goddard is out. So kind of just a little bit different. I don't personally play on FanDuel, but I know a lot of you guys do, and you've asked for FanDuel information. We've still always given FanDuel information. We just haven't built lineups and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, get those down below. I have linked in the comment section, I have linked our Week 11 rankings. The video is out as well, so I will link that video down as well. And don't forget, we are going to have a main slate breakdown for FanDuel and DraftKings and lineup builds come out either Friday night or Saturday. So make sure you check that out. Again, have fun. Hopefully you guys have had success. If you have, let us know. Get into the Discord down below. Good luck, and as always, bring them that bacon. Peace.